and I thought, you don't really want to just listen to me talk, because it's very strange. I did start this journey with a much bigger ego than I've got now. And that's one of the interesting things about Clean Questions, is it trains you to see that with all your expertise, the best thing that you can do is to be quiet, to be humble, and to pay really close attention to the people you're working with. And so then I was thinking, okay, so if I've grown out of just wanting to say, hey, look, here I am, I thought, well, I'll tell you my story, but only if you'll tell me yours too. So what I'd really like to have happen is I'd like you to have a piece of paper and a pen near you, or pencils if you're the sort of person who likes to have colored pencils. And let's go through this together. Let's have a bit of a reflection on your journey to coaching has been like what? And I'll tell you mine. We'll start with what happened before it began. We'll go on to then what happened, what's important to you, and your journey has been like what, and what would you like to have happen next? So you take a moment to get your things ready, and you can either write on your own piece of paper, or if you'd like to, it'd be really wonderful if you could write answers in the chat, because that also, Marion Way, who's my friend, colleague, business partner, partner in crime at the moment, is going to help feed bits of the chat to me, so I'm not trying to juggle too many things at once. So if I go back, when Tom and Helen invited me to this conference, I thought, what has been my journey to coaching? And you know, it wasn't what I expected it to be, because when I got some people to ask me some questions about it and to model what my journey had been, use some Clean Questions to do that, it was nothing nice. It was nothing about altruism for me personally. It wasn't about empowering other people. It was simply that I was the sort of person who needed to know how things worked. And I was the sort of person who was very concerned about waste. So if I ask myself the question, where did it all begin? I remember walking to school as a child, and I'd see a worm in a puddle, and I'd be late for school on rainy days because I had to pick up all those worms because they were going to drown, and pop them in the grass. But that wasn't the big part of it. It was the wondering to myself, how come? How come when it rains, worms come out, get themselves in puddles and drown? How does that work? And that ticking over, that wondering, went through my life into adulthood, where I'd go, how come? How come that person's really, really good in this situation, but when the other person's in that situation, it just doesn't go as well? How are they thinking or behaving differently that these things don't quite fit? And so my journey came from how does that work? Why is it like that? Why do they do it that way? So that was my beginning. For you, your journey to coaching, how did it begin? What happened just before it started? And you can, I'll just check with Tom and Helen. Can people speak?
Yeah.
If so, you can unmute yourself and tell us, or you can write in the chat.
When you say just before, Caitlin, you mentioned the memories from your childhood. So when you say just before, what does it mean?
Well, for you, it depends. For me, I think it went back to then. It was trying to work out how worms work. But okay. I think the actual journey to then becoming a coach for me was an accident. Then for me, if I think about what happened just before, my mum called me and said, oh, I've booked a bunch of my business team on an NLP course. There's a spare place. They can't make it. Do you want to take it? I was like, yeah, all right. So it was a kind of a burning curiosity and then a lucky chance for me. So what happened to you just before?
I'll share mine whilst people are writing. And interestingly, I've never thought of this before until you just asked that question. But I think there's something about my mum and my gran, that they were the type of people that people came and sat at their kitchen table and had a chat. And I remember that. And I remember how lovely that it used to be able to visit my gran and sit with her and chat to her, and the same with my mum. And I think I've always had that wanting to sit and chat with people, and I've suddenly found a way to make a living sitting and chatting. That's kind of it, really.
Having a table like my mum and my gran.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and being the sort of person that people come and chat with.